Black beauty, come run through the meadows. There's pastures to play in and sunshine to see. Black beauty, the countryside's calling and saying, Black beauty, run far and run free. Black beauty, though saddled and bridled, though days may be darkened and storms be in store. Black beauty, the countryside's calling and saying, Black beauty, you'll run free once more.
I remember another adventure with the squire and his family. It was nighttime. I had eaten my hay and was fast asleep in my straw, when suddenly I was awakened by the stable bell ringing very loud. John, the groom, ran up to his master's house, and in a few minutes he was in the stables. He came in, put the saddle on my back and the bridle on my head. The squire was with him.
Now, Beauty, if you've ever run before, do it now. John, ride for your life. It's your mistress's life. There's not a moment to lose. Ride to Dr. White and give him this note. When you get to there, give Beauty here a rest and get back as soon as you can.
John got on my back. We went through the gates, down through the village, down the hills, and out on the open road. For 2 miles I galloped as fast as I could put my feet on the ground. Another 8 miles we went. The air was frosty, the moon was bright. All was quiet except for the clatter of my own feet. The church bell struck 3. As we drew up to the doctor's house, John knocked on his door like thunder. Upstairs, a window was raised, and Dr. White put his head out.
What is it?
John explained that the squire's wife was very ill, and that she would die if the doctor didn't come at once.
Wait. I will come, but my own horse is ill, and my son is away with the other horse. What is to be done? Can I use yours?
John explained that I had come at a gallop all the way from the squire's, and that I was to have a rest. But John realized the emergency and agreed. Well, I will not tell you about our way back to the squire's. The doctor was a heavier man than John, and not so good a rider. However, I did my very best. Back over the 10 miles I went at top speed. When we got to the squire's house, the doctor drew me up.
Now, my good fellow, take some breath. You've done a fine evening's work, and hard work it was.
The squire was waiting at the front door and rushed the doctor inside. I was led to the stable, and I must tell you that I was so tired I could hardly stand. I was drenched all over from the perspiration. The stable boy gave me water, dried me, and rubbed me down. And after a meal, I lay down again and fell fast asleep. But the hard running in the cold night air made me feel very ill in my lungs, and I couldn't draw a breath without great pain. John nursed me day and night, and the squire came to see me often.
My poor Black Beauty, my good horse, you saved your mistress's life. If you had taken any longer, the doctor said he would have been too late. Good horse, Beauty, good horse.
I had now lived at this happy place for 3 years, but sad changes were to come over us. We heard from time to time that our mistress was ill. The doctor was often at the house, and our master looked grave and anxious. Then we heard that she must leave her home at once and go to a warmer country for 2 or 3 years. Oh, it was sad news. Soon the squire began to make arrangements to break up his home and leave England. The first of the family to leave were Miss Jessie and Miss Flora. Merrylegs was given to the vicar, and Ginger and I were to be sold to an old friend of the squire's, the Earl of Worcester. The last sad day came when the squire and his wife and all the servants were parting. Ginger and I were hitched up to the carriage, and the master and mistress got in. We took them to the railway station, and the stable boys, in fact all of us, were close to tears. Very soon the train came puffing into the station, Then 2 or 3 minutes and the doors were slammed shut. The guard whistled, and the train glided away, leaving behind it only clouds of white smoke and some very heavy hearts. When it was out of sight, the stable boy and John took the reins, and Ginger and I headed back home. But it was not our home now. Next morning after breakfast, Merrylegs came and said goodbye, and was taken to the vicar's house, and Ginger and I were taken to the Earl of Worcester. Life was very pleasant there, and Ginger and I became friends, but our happy life did not last very long. And here I must say a word about Reuben Smith, who was in charge of the stables. When he was all right, there was not a man who understood his business better than he did. He was gentle and very clever in his management of horses. He could doctor them very well. He was a first-rate driver, and he was well liked in the neighborhood. I say when he was all right, because he had one great fault, and that was love of drink. Oh, not all the time, but now and then he would drink to excess. And it was such a time I must tell you about, because it affected my very life from then on. It was early in April, and the Earl was away. Smith drove me one day to the tavern. Now, a nail had started to come loose in one of my front shoes, but he didn't notice. Much later in the evening, when he was done at the tavern, he got in the saddle and gave me a sharp crack with the whip.
Get on there! Get a move on it!
The moon had not risen, and it was very dark. The roads were full of stones, and going over them at the rapid pace that Smith drove me, my shoe became looser and looser. Finally, at one point, the shoe came off altogether. Now, if Smith had been in his right senses, he would have noticed that something was wrong with my pace, but he never noticed anything. Now we headed onto a long stretch of road full of stones, where no horse could be driven quickly without risk of danger. But Smith made me gallop at my fastest speed.
Get on there! Faster! Faster!
My foot without the shoe suffered dreadfully. The hoof was broken and split, and the inside of it was terribly cut by the sharpness of the stones. This pace could not go on. No horse could keep his footing on such a road, especially without one shoe. Suddenly, the pain was too great. I stumbled and fell on both my knees. Smith was flung off forward over my head at rapid speed.